Welcome. This is the Senior Safety Advice Podcast, and we are so glad that you've made it to a calmer corner of your day. Here, we focus on real solutions, practical help, and the kind of encouragement we could all use a little more of. So let's get to it.
Hey there, everyone, and welcome back to the Senior Safety Advice Podcast. I'm so glad you're here with me today. Today's topic is going to be about simplifying storage for seniors with arthritis. Now, this question comes up a lot. I actually get more emails about this than I really thought I would. Now, arthritis, of course, if you have it, doesn't just affect how you move. It definitely can affect how you live. It affects how you reach, how you grip, how long you can stand, fiddling with something before your hands or your hips or your ankles even say, nope, that's it, we're done. So here's the thing that surprises, I think, a lot of people. Most of the pain doesn't actually come from big tasks. Now, this is true, I think, for people who don't have arthritis or maybe have slight little bit of arthritis. But for anyone who is suffering with arthritis, you know that most of the pain doesn't come from big tasks. It comes from those little everyday things that you do. Everything from opening the drawers or reaching into shelves, digging through cabinets, twisting lids, if you can even get that thing open, bending and stretching just to get what you need, just to do what it is that you want to do. And that's when frustration normally sneaks in. Or it's worse when someone starts avoiding things that they enjoy because of anticipating the pain that it's going to produce. So today I want to walk you through how storage can make your life a little easier if you're suffering with the pain of arthritis. It's not fancy, it's not expensive. It's just some tips that can be kinder to your hands that hurt, because most seniors with arthritis have it in their hands. Of course, it can also be in your hips, in your knees, in your ankles, pretty much any joint. My mom-in-law suffered with arthritis in her neck. She had a very difficult time with that, and it was quite painful. So what I've noticed over the years is this. When storage works better in your home, life is easier and it's actually calmer. People move more confidently, at least I do. I move more confidently because I know where everything is because it's put away in a particular spot and there's a spot for it. And that really is part of the game of storage. And pain doesn't run the show quite as much. I tend to have arthritis in my hips, so I have to be careful of how I move and where I put things in order to obtain them quickly and easily. All right, so I've seen this over and over again, even with family, not only myself, but with family and friends. And sometimes one small change can make a huge difference in someone's home and in their life. So here's where this really matters. I want you to think about the fact that arthritis isn't just about pain. It's about your energy. Every extra reach you have to do, every awkward twist or every heavy drawer you have to pull out, it all adds up. So the goal with storage isn't like anything else. It isn't perfection. It's reducing the amount of effort that you're putting out to do what you need to do. So letting the home work with you instead of against you. And honestly, I like the idea of the home working for you. So let's look into some of the things that um, that I can think about that can help you with this situation. I myself, as an occupational therapist and I have many friends and relatives, I've walked into so many homes where everything is technically organized, but none of it is actually usable. Shelves are too high for the person living there. Drawers are too deep, or they're very difficult to open. Handles on the drawers or closets or cabinets are tiny, and difficult to hold on to, and nothing slides easily. Or worse, there are no sliding shelves in any of the cabinets. So that's usually when I see people or when I hear people start saying things like, oh, forget it. I'm just going to leave it there. Or, yeah, well, I don't use that anymore. Or, no, it's not worth the trouble. Let's go out to eat. And that's the part that really breaks my heart. So let's talk about what actually helps. One of the biggest changes is bringing things down to where your hands naturally fall. If you have to reach above your shoulder level or bend past your knees, that's a problem. If you have items above your shoulder level or below your knee level that you use often, you want to take those items out and move them to a more convenient location where you can reach them. Your best storage zone is between your waist and your chest. Anything that you can put in that area without causing clutter. In other words, I'm not saying to take everything that you use or things that you use often and lay them all on a countertop or a desktop. No, you don't want to create that clutter. If you have to build shelving above the countertop, just above it, then do that. Um, I even had one client I remember a while ago where she had the back wall of her kitchen countertop removed and she had shelving put inside the wall. And that's where she put things. It was much easier to get access to things. So, yes, that required some remodeling, but it certainly was not an entire kitchen remodel. It was much simpler than that. So, everyday items should live in this location. Your strength is in your storage zone between your waist and your chest. Honestly, that's where your joints are usually the happiest. And I'm not talking about special holiday items or things you use once or twice a year. I'm talking about the things that you use every single day. That bowl that you scrambled your eggs in, the frying pan that you use to cook your pork chops or whatever, anything that you use on a regular basis. I've noticed that when people move just a few items lower or higher, their whole routine gets easier and their demeanor is easier. They're not as angry at their house because it's working with them and for them. Another thing that I see a lot is very deep cabinets and drawers. Now, honestly, they look great. They really do, and they can store a lot. But they can be a nightmare for someone suffering from arthritis. Having to dig through things, lifting from a low area, reaching to the very back of something, like a pantry shelf or a cabinet. That's exhausting, honestly, and can be quite painful depending on where your arthritis is. So this is where shallow drawers and pull-out shelves really shine. Now, doesn't necessarily have to be a shallow drawer. It could just be that you divide the drawer so that the items that you use most often are in the front and the items you don't use most often are in the back. So when you open up that drawer, you can just easily access what you normally use. You don't have to remodel. There are very simple slide out trays everywhere now, Walmart, Container Stores, Amazon, that you can purchase and you can put into your cabinets. The only thing I can say is make sure that you measure, double measure, triple measure, and then make sure that with the measurements you're getting from the item, will fit. Wire baskets can also be used, although I'm not a fan of wire baskets because it's too easy for things to slip out and slip through. I kind of like things that are solid. If you do have to get something with a wire basket, maybe you can line it with something that will, keep things from falling out. Now, the reason that I love sliding shelves is because when things come to you, you don't have to fight to access them. And honestly, really, come on, that's the goal, isn't it? To make our lives as easy and safe as possible. All right, now let's talk about handles. And this one can actually be huge, much more than you would think. There's some beautiful, beautiful knobs that I've seen for kitchen cabinets and drawers, in even doorknobs. I mean, there are some gorgeous ones out there. But if they're uncomfortable or difficult to manage with arthritis in your hands, then it doesn't do anything. It serves no purpose. Tiny knobs are the worst on arthritic hands. They're brutal. They require you to pinch and twist, and that's exactly what usually hurts the most if you have arthritis in your hands. But what I've seen work the best are larger curved handles or loop style pulls. I just had my kitchen remodeled, and that's what I used, loop style pulls. It's basically like a U shape or a very soft U shape, and they're very easy to put your hands through and just pull the cabinet or the drawer. Sometimes you can even wrap your whole hand around it or even use your forearm. If it's a hook, you can use your forearm if you need to, depending on, what level of arthritis you have, rheumatoid arthritis. You may not be able to use your hand at all. You may have to use your elbow or forearm to pull that. So in that case, you would want something you can hook onto. The other handles are the doorknobs. You don't, if you have round doorknobs, those can be very difficult. Now, there are covers that you can put on doorknobs that make them round doorknobs that make them easier to turn. But if you want something a little more aesthetic, I would recommend to get the lever style doorknobs. Those are much easier to use. And again, you can use your elbow to push down to open up a door. You don't always need to use your hand. That one changing the knobs are in your home. It can just be a little bit at a time. Doesn't have to be every single door or cabinet all at once. But if you can do that and finally get them all done, you will find that your home will be working with you and not against you. Another thing that many people and families especially don't always realize is that storage height matters differently when pain flares up. On a good day, you might be able to manage reaching up or reaching down. On a bad day, even the sinful tasks feel almost impossible, if not totally impossible. That's why I always suggest planning storage on your worst days, not your best ones. So if you're having a really bad day, that's when you know how far you can reach up, how far you can reach down, what's comfortable, and make a note of that. That way you know where you really need to move things to. So, lowering shelves, reducing how much you store, and spacing things out more, all of that helps to conserve your energy. And here's something that you probably will be familiar with, and you've probably seen it and probably have heard it 100 times, but I have seen it in almost every home that I would go into to do a home assessment. People keep way too many things. There are too many duplicates, 32, measurement cups, too many just in case items. Well, in case this breaks, you need this one. I need a wooden one, a metal one, a brass one, or whatever. All that extra stuff, of course, is going to make storage harder because it takes up all that space. When drawers are packed tight, when shelves are packed tight, it's very difficult to work through all of that stuff. And of course, it's very difficult to organize all that stuff. So simplifying your storage always begins with decluttering, with getting rid of as many things as you possibly can. One thing you can do, a little trick, is you can take out a lot of things. Let's say you have 5 measuring cups. Take out 3. Put them away, maybe in the garage, in the back of your car, somewhere. Put them away. And after 2, 3 months, if you find that you did just fine with 2 measuring cups, then you know that you can give the other 3 away. This is like a little test, a little beta experiment to see what you really need and don't need. And be honest with yourself. Don't cheat. All right. So the fewer items that you store away, the more space is between them. And that alone can make it so much easier to grab things, to find things. So I've watched people actually sigh with relief when they just open the drawer that finally glides easily, that they can access something easily. It just makes the process of whatever it is that they're doing, whether it's cooking or a craft project or whatever, so much easier. Now, the next thing I want to talk about are labels. And it might sound small, but I think it matters. I have labels on a lot of my jars, for coffee and sugar and flour and that kind of thing. But when your hands hurt, searching can be exhausting. So having clear labels and open bins and see-through containers, they can save a lot of time and energy. You can see exactly where things are. And what I like about the see-through containers is you can see how much you have left of whatever it is, rice or detergent or whatever, so that you know that you have to put it on the shopping list to get it again. You don't have to open 10 things just to find the one thing that you want. And I've seen this help not just seniors, not just older adults, but caregivers too, not only families, but caregivers. If you have a caregiver, a professional caregiver coming in to help you, everyone wins when everything is organized and stored away properly. So another thing that makes a difference if you're suffering with arthritis is using gravity instead of grip. Instead of lifting things, try containers that flip open. Instead of twisting caps, try push button or slide open designs. Instead of stacking things, try side by side storage if you have the space. Every little reduction in effort adds up. And honestly, that's how people stay independent longer. You're not giving in, you're adapting. And adapting your home to what you can easily do is a smart thing, and it allows you to stay at home longer and more independent. So all of this brings me to something very important. Simplifying storage is not just about making things look, you know, um, generic or what's the word? Septic. It's not that. It's about dignity. It's about comfort. It's about ease. I've worked with so many people who said, I don't want my house to look old. And I get that. Nobody wants that. But the good news is that most of these changes are very subtle. They blend right in. My home is more of a modern country look. So having labels on things is very much a modern country look. Having glass jars on open shelves at eye level with labels with, things like flour and rice and sugar and coffee and whatever. All of that blends in with my decor. And these days you can find so many ways to blend in with your decor that also are useful and practical. The payoff is really huge. I mean, less pain, less frustration, more confidence. I've seen people start cooking again and crafting again and doing the things that they thought were behind them because it was just too difficult to do, too annoying to do. And all because they stopped, you know, thinking about how can they make the place work for them versus using the place as they always have. So if you take one thing from today, let it be this. Your home should support you. Whatever it is that you are dealing with, be it arthritis, any kind of arthritis, or recovering from hip surgery or a stroke, don't let the home challenge you. Turn the home into your asset, not something that just because you've done something the same way for the last 50, 60 years doesn't mean you have to keep doing that. You just have to be a bit more flexible to change so that you can continue to do it again. You don't have to do everything at once. Start with one drawer, one cabinet, one shelf. See how it feels. Again, look at your environment on your worst day, and see what would make it easier and jot it down. Make a note of it so that you know how to rebuild that environment for you. Comfort actually can build that momentum. When you start with one thing, it's easy to go to the next. And when life feels easier for you, generally people tend to thrive. Well, that's all I have for you today. I hope that it was useful. I want to thank you again for being here with me. If today's episode gave you some useful insights or new ideas, then share it with someone who might find it helpful as well. You can discover even more expert tips and helpful guides for seniors and caregivers at seniorsafetyadvice.com. And hey, if you're searching for an aging in place specialist, then please visit our website at aginginplacedirectory.com. And don't forget, come back tomorrow for more useful tips, insights, and ideas right here on the Senior Safety Advice Podcast. And if you haven't yet subscribed to our YouTube channel or the podcast yet, go ahead and do that right now, because it really helps us to reach more people who could use this kind of support and information. So until next time, take care of yourself and the ones that you love.
This podcast is part of our mission to help older adults live safely and independently. If you'd like to take the next step, visit aginginplacedirectory.com, where you'll find specialists, helpful resources, and inspiration to make every home your place to thrive.